A couple guys nicked up. May manage them during the week, but otherwise, I think at this point, pretty good.
You expect to activate Charlie this week?
We'll see. I think it's coming sooner rather than later, but we'll make that decision here shortly.
Any lingering effects from Trey yesterday after kind of the ankle or whatever?
I think he's one of the guys that we'll manage during the week, but expect him to be good to go on Sunday.
These guys all play through stuff, but do you see that? I mean, Trey, it seems like he's battled so many things, and his performance never dips when he plays through it.
Yeah. He spends a lot of time managing it during the week. He does all the right recovery things, doesn't skip any steps that way, in terms of going through his routine, and I think it served him well.
When you watch the tape, is there anything that really kind of jumped out or you were pleased with that you didn't really maybe recognize in real time?
Well, I think when you start with the defense, because sometimes I don't get to lock in on that during the game as you're trying to manage calls. You see, I didn't see Logan's pick live. I was talking to Burrow about the next series, and so just how complete a defensive performance that was by our guys. I thought you're careful not to break because everybody was relentless. Mike Hilton, I talked to Mike on the plane. He showed up so much more than I realized during the game, just in key places. Drew a holding penalty, made a great TFL, had some really good tackles in between the hashes. Thought that he did some really good stuff there. Just the force that DJ Reader is, even when maybe he's not getting a statistic his way. The effect that he and BJ have in there. I saw Josh Tupou and Zach Carter as well, and that's not to mention everybody else on the defense side of the ball. I was just really impressed with the effort and the standard of play. Our linebackers, all those guys really stepped up and helped us win that game in a big way.
You've talked so much about how important it is to play with the lead for Lou and for the defense. Is it an attitude? Is it a mindset thing, or is it? Well,
it's just it's the way that the whole game can shift. I look at the Tennessee game was no different than the Seattle game. And the only difference was the offense scored 14 points early against Seattle and allowed the defense to kind of weather the storm and bear up there in the second half. And really offensively, we just never gave them that chance in the Tennessee game, so the game broke open. And it's 27-3. I think that's the best example I can come up with of the difference in playing with the lead, not playing with the lead, and what that allows your defense to do. And so you just saw yesterday those guys, the confidence to stay ahead in the scheme and create the turnovers and create the hits on the quarterback, and eventually that adds up and gets you the ball back, and that's what those guys are able to do yesterday when they had the lead.
What you were talking about, where you're talking to Joe and Logan makes the pick, do you react at all when you hear the crowd reaction? Do you turn around and see what's happening, or is it more important what you're talking to Joe about?
I need to know yard line and hash. That's and then as I call the play, it's what just happened. What was the concept? What coverage were we in? So we were in quarters. They run a Swiss concept, and so then you start to add it up, how he got the pick and where it came from, and then you watch it on the plane, and it kind of you try to see if you can predict what it looked like, and we've run that play enough against that coverage to know what it looks like, and so again, he did a great job getting his hands on the ball, kind of anticipating where the ball was going to go, and doing a great job making that play there.
But then you make the great call there with you're talking to Burrow while Logan makes the pick.
Yeah.
And then you make the call, then the next call. Now, did you say, okay, we get the ball in the 17, or were you saying this is going to be a play we're going to use?
Yeah, it was a play. We talked about it earlier in the game in that 2-minute drive and didn't get to, so it was on our fringe. As we're transitioning, someone on the headset said, "Here's a good spot for the shot we had," and so I'm still trying to uncover who said it. I'm trying to give them proper credit.
That was after
Everyone's pointing fingers at everybody else to divulge the credit, which is a great thing about our staff.
But it was obviously after the pick that somebody said this will be a good spot.
Yep.
Zach, could you sense this performance coming from this team? We've been asking you during the slow start about Joe getting back all the way to where he is now. Could you sense the last couple of weeks this was coming?
Yep. You can feel kind of where the team's headed, the energy in practice, and you can just see the guys continue to raise their level of play, and just need an opportunity to put it all together. And each side of the ball gave the other side an opportunity to play to their potential. And so just felt really good on the plane, felt really good in the hotel, felt really good in pregame warm-ups and on the sidelines, just that this team was ready to go, and there was a good energy that they were ready to tee off on somebody. And Felt like they did that yesterday.
I feel like the tight end group has performed through 7 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there was a turnover that stood out yesterday, but there was a lot of really positive things. Irv made a tremendous correction from practice where he got out quicker in the protection and had a first down catch on a protection where he's in a check down. That was a correction that we'd made on Saturday morning, and Irv took it to the field and had 12, 14-yard gain on that. Had a good empty snap where he fought for 4 tough yards. We were waiting to see what their empty check was going to be, and it was a hard-fought 4 yards against Fred Warner, who was unblocked on the play. Those guys show up a lot in the run game and protection well, and they're not going to get the credit for it because it's not the sexy stuff. But all 3 of those guys, I thought Irv had some really good snaps there. Drew had some great snaps. Mitch had some good snaps. Drew's in there on the shot play to T. Higgins, where he's got to block a defensive end, and Mixon does a great job coming off on the safety. So there's so many things that they will never get credit for, and they don't want credit for, that they make this offense go, and they allow other things to take shape. And their moments will come as well in the passing game. And so, again, that's a group that just puts their head down and work, and they're led by their fearless leader, James Casey, who instills that mentality in them, that just be ready for your opportunity when it comes and make the most of it to help this team and do all the little things right. And so it's a room that you're really proud of, the way that they fight every single day. So again, we continue to lean on those guys as we go forward.
How much of Irv's lack of targets, and I know he had his own hamstring injury, but how much of that is tied to Burrow's injury and getting the ball out fast?
It's a great point. Some of it's a victim of circumstance, just the way things have played out early in the lead early in the season with some of the lack of play actions, with some of the scheme things we've had to do early in the year. Some of those times that our tight ends in the past have gotten balls on scrambled plays and longer developing plays, and we hadn't done as much of that early in the season. So again, a lot of it is circumstance. When you go through and you just watch the tight ends, every single rep, they're in the right place, they're doing the right thing. It's just opportunity hasn't come their way, and that's nobody's fault. And so again, there will be opportunity there as we continue to go forward as well.
I think players might answer this question different than coaches. Was yesterday a statement?
No, I think it was a reminder for us, not for us, maybe for others who maybe had a little bit of doubt, but this is a team that's focused on the right things at the right times, and we're done really for the near future with the NFC part of things, and it's time to focus on the AFC, and this is where we need to continue to make strides, and starts this weekend in Buffalo.
How cognizant are y'all, or how much do you make a point of the fact that y'all don't have an AFC win this year? Is that something that you
No.
bring up?
No.
When
You
you
mentioned,
Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the someone had to beat them message that popped up yesterday, the bulletin board fuel. Where does that come from each week? You said your team responds to it. Do you take ownership of that, or is that shared?
Well, last year I gave credit to Jay for the Buffalo one because I saw his tweet, but now I don't see anybody's tweets anymore. So I saw it somewhere. I don't know who's going to get credit for me seeing that one. It wasn't bulletin board material from San Fran. They didn't say anything. I've got a ton of respect for that organization. But it's just more things that, you can fuel your players with, and how your team responds to certain things. And I think there's maybe teams I've been on in my lifetime where you'd shy away from things like that, worried that it might damage the psyche going into a game. Not this team. This is a team that, they want to be the first to do something in a while, and we just got the right competitors and right leaders on our team that respond well to that kind of stuff, and always count on them to do so.
This is a little similar, but when you present game balls, you've got stats, you've got nuggets about history. How does that all come together in that quick period after a game before you present this?
Okay. PJ does a great job. He's the starting point, and so I go in. I have the iPad sitting at my desk, and it's got some notes, some things that sometimes you guys say during the game to be aware of. I'm just kidding. It's more just reporters have noted, an injury or something that's happened, just so I can be aware, anticipate your questions beforehand in the press conference. And then there's some statistics, some historical things like you mentioned. So the completion stuff with Ken Anderson, and I wouldn't have been able to pull that. I didn't even know he was 19. That's things during the game you don't really know. But post game, and so that there's good information there. And then there's moments I remember from the game that were key moments, and then just getting with the coordinators and making sure I'm not missing something that happened. And there's retroactive game balls as well that take place, and so. Last week, the special teams player of the week was Tyson Anderson. Some of that stuff, you don't see till after the game when you watch the tape. And Marcus Bailey this week, and it's not going to be statistical stuff necessarily, but it's just matchups that were difficult. That he did a great job keeping us in really positive situations and being consistent with the details. And so that kind of stuff can evolve. It doesn't have to be dead and done after the game's over. We can go through the next day and make sure that guys are acknowledged the right way for the things that they do to help us win.
What makes you decide to give everybody one? Because, you did it against Tennessee.
There's so many good performances. Yeah, last year versus Tennessee, and sometimes you just feel, that was a good program win, and not that it necessarily is going to mean something for the season, but just everybody was in it together on the road, 4-hour and 45-minute flight. So it's just you kind of felt everyone in it together, and that one, and everybody played a big part in that. Whether it's trainers, equipment, video, PR, everybody did a great job doing their part in this game.
Obviously, with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow, what do you expect what are the conversations like, annually, and what do you expect it to be like as y'all kind of get ready for
We talk every single day during the season and the off season, so it's no different whether it's the day before the trade deadline or the day after the trade deadline. None of that matters to us.
When there's a play like Joe's Houdini escape, is there a point where you are like, I can't wait to get in front of my iPad and see what that looked like?
Well, you just can't see the details in the pocket, of Kappa finishing off a block and Orlando finishing off, and those other guys straining to make a good pocket before really the whole thing evolved. So really, it was a good pocket, and then he just felt it was time to start moving, and that's where the chaos ensued, which sometimes it happens on 3rd and 10. But it's just good to see it. It's rare. We have an end zone view. I don't know that everybody else has, but to see both sidelines celebrate on the field during the same play, and because they certainly, for the right reasons, thought the play was over, and you could see the energy on their sidelines to get a big sack on 3rd and 10 early in the game, and then you see our sidelines come off, when the play's over. So that's a very rare. I don't know how many times in my life I've seen that where both sidelines celebrated equally as loudly on the same play.
Any repeat Joe Burrow costumes in the Taylor household tomorrow? I think they were last year.
I have no idea what my kids are. I'm kind of ashamed to say it. We'll find out tonight. They're going to come over here tonight in their costumes, so I'll get a chance to see what their dress says.
The special teams player of the week thing, is that based on the game alone, or is that practice and the week?
More so the game, but it's not a finely tuned system. It's Marcus is a guy that has really been consistent in his preparation, forever, really. And Darren gives him some of the tougher matchups sometimes because he's got a lot of confidence in him to be detailed, be consistent, and help us. So, again, another thing that may not show up statistically in terms of opportunities for tackles and things like that, just because it's a reliance on this guy's going to do the right thing and help others achieve. And so that's where Marcus has come in. But he's been a guy really consistent over the course of the season. And so it's time that he got something like this.
What did you think of your tackles, Orlando and Joe?
Really good. And really gave us everything that we needed to win that game. And there's some times where their rushers are going to be a tick away from impacting the play. That's football against really good rushers. And I thought those guys did a great job giving us the time we needed. Burrow doing a great job with his level in the pocket to make sure he could help. And I was really proud of you mentioned the two tackles, Jonah and Orlando, the effort they gave us and the time they gave us on some tough plays. And then you can go forward and kind of to Ben's question earlier, things that stood out when you watch the tape, the interior push on a lot of the run game stuff, the double teams inside with Ted, Cordell, and Alex, I thought was really impressive that some of the balls were spit out on the perimeter on bubbles and RPO throws, but you could see kind of the message they were trying to send in there.
Obviously, it's going to be, go ahead.
Might be tough to figure this out at this point, but you got a home night game against Buffalo coming up. DeMar's made a complete, incredible comeback.
Yeah.
Any thought of will you think of it joyously the fact that, you know, he's come back from all this?
Well, I think we always do. You know, that's not singled down to this week. I think just what we all saw and how things have turned out. Positive team back in New Jersey, back out there practicing, back out there playing is I don't think anybody saw that coming, and so that's just that's just an unbelievable miracle that it's played out that way, and I know that everybody's thankful for that, and it was great to see just communities come together for a really positive benefit, and it's turned into a lot of good, and so I think that's what everybody's thankful for.
Obviously, it's going to be a night game again, just like the January home game here. What do you expect the emotions to be like for you personally, and as you kind of get ready, given it'll be everything kind of similar to what it was before that happened?
I think we're pretty well focused, both teams, on where we're at this season of 2023, and sure, back to your mind, yeah, but I think both teams will be focused on getting our teams ready to play and going out there and have a special night, and I'm also excited just to get. I've had coaches on other teams that have played us in night games over the last 3 years praise the environment here. I think just the fan engagement, the pyrotechnics, all the things that happen is it's impressive to us and it's fun for us and it gives us great energy. But I think it's really cool for other teams in the league when they come in here. And on top of that, just our fan support in these night games has given us a huge edge. And so Sunday night, I'm counting on this being the biggest and best one yet.
From the serious to the frivolous, could you care to offer a critique of Ted Karras' ability as a ball carrier?
I thought he's on the plane, and he keeps saying, "Did you skip the run?" And I'm like, "We didn't run. We threw it 2 plays. I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "No, my carry." And I'd kind of forgotten when Joe's going down. I think I clicked through the next play. Sometimes you forget that the ball popped out, and so I got a chance to analyze Ted. Great ball security. Typical. I'm glad he was looking over his shoulders to see instead of looking at a jumbotron trying to see who's behind him, because sometimes that mirror flips you a little bit. But that would have been a healthy gain. I think a healthy gain is the right term there. So it was incomplete. Or it was called a sack, but it was close.